Hi everyone, Simon Keeling here. It's Sunday the 12th of February. Thank you for watching. As always, this site's kept free of charge by the adverts you see around the screen. So if you see an advert that you like, do click on it, go through to the advertiser. It generates revenue for us and it shows the advertiser that you're interested in what we are doing too, and supports them as well. Going to take a look at the forecast now for the next few days, and then we'll get a little bit more technical with things. Just want to bring your attention to this first of all. These are the city forecasts for the next few days. You see the dates running across the bottom here. This takes us up to almost the end of the month, and just notice this gradual rise in temperature that's going to be taking place over the next couple of days into this week, and just notice how that carries on. However, a slight dip, look here, around the 20th, 21st, and it's this period really that we're focused on. There's potential for bringing a brief cold snap, I think, before temperatures then recovering back to normal levels by the time we're into the end of the month. That chart there is for London. You can go to the site though and view the temperatures for your city. For example, there's Birmingham. Again, you see a similar thing here around the 20th, 21st of the month. I'll show you Manchester. Again, look, that dip off around the middle of the month. And then Glasgow. But there, look, notice that there is a more dramatic change in temperatures around this sort of 20th, 21st period. It could go really cold up there, indicating that it's going to be the north and the east, I think, that take the brunt of any cold spell that comes through during the early part of next week. So what exactly is going on? Well, let me show the charts for the coming days. These are the charts from weatheronline.co.uk. And the time is up here in the top left hand corner. High pressure looks still dominating things on the forecast, but as we go through these time periods, you'll notice that the high is still there. But just look what happens by the time we get through into Monday and Tuesday. Do you see this northerly developing here, coming down the North Sea? Now, for most of us, the conditions stay relatively mild. This is high pressure, so the winds rotate in a clockwise direction around an area of high pressure. So if we take an isobar, for example, the one, let's say here across Western Scotland, follow it back, so we're going against the wind, and look at where the air originates from, you see it's actually coming up from the west of Portugal, through the Atlantic, east of the Azores, and then down through the British Isles. So actually the air is relatively mild. So this is why we're going to be seeing temperatures rise during the course of this week, even though we've got a northerly here. In fact, it's the North Sea really. If you trace those isobars back, look, they get to southern Greenland. So it really is the North Sea and into Scandinavia, into Norway and Denmark, that sees the cooler weather coming around the top of this high. For us, it looks as if it will be generally mild. Into Tuesday, may just get a little bit of rain across the southeast coming in from this feature as it moves down the North Sea. But again, this is relatively mild. I say mild compared to what we've had recently. Temperatures nearer normal. Into Tuesday, staying with that west to northwesterly flow and high pressure, so it looks as if it is going to be dry. Again, you can trace these isobars back and see that the air source is staying relatively mild into Tuesday too. Into Wednesday, very little change. Still got a northwesterly, one or two showers around northern and western Scotland, but for most of us it looks as if it will be dry. I think fronts are going to be dipping southwards at times in this flow, but they're so weak because they're coming into the area of high pressure. Really, there's nothing of note there. Until Wednesday evening, could just be an odd shower clipping these eastern coasts. And then as we head into Thursday, well, a more substantial front tries to get its act together across northern and western Scotland. Look, the main area of rain and sleet by that stage goes into the North Sea. And just notice that across Scotland, look, if we follow the isobars back, you notice they're coming in from Newfoundland, so and northeastern parts of Canada. So actually the winds, the temperatures here, the air mass here is considerably colder. So I think here we'll take a dip in temperature, and that means that this rain that falls in northern and western areas turns quite quickly to snow over the hills as it moves inland. Later on Thursday, that front continues to move its way southwards. It does so into Friday too, but as a much weakened feature by the time it clears the south. But across much of Scotland, northern England, northern parts of Ireland, look, the air is from a cooler source. So here it will turn colder, and these showers are going to be turning increasingly wintry. Into Saturday now, and a more noticeable north to northwesterly flow comes through across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England. I think here we could find some snow showers over the hills, sleet at low levels, but perhaps some snow showers for northern and western Scotland too. For the south, we stay in the milder conditions, but it is still generally dry under high pressure. Then into the early part of next week, this is where we see a change. Look, an area of low pressure comes across on Sunday. Now, I'm not entirely convinced that in the detail of this. It's probable that that's a trough that moves its way eastwards during the course of Sunday and probably takes an area of rain, perhaps turning to sleet and snow as it goes eastwards through the country. The most noticeable part of this is that it brings in northerly winds down through the country during Monday of next week, so getting into the 20th and also lasting into the 21st. And the result of that is that we find cooler air in for a short time. However, it's only short-lived because this is late on the 21st. Look, the ridge of high pressure is back in, the flow goes back into the southwest, and we find that conditions across all parts become milder and drier. However, by middle of the week, look what's happening here. We're getting another area of low pressure going to the north of Scotland, and notice that we're setting up more of a westerly by then, so conditions tending to become more unsettled during the middle to the latter part of next week by the looks of things. But still, high pressure is around, so these ridges of high pressure build in. So I think for most of the south of the country, we're staying drier conditions. It's going to be to the north across Scotland where we see fronts go through, bringing rain at times. And they're probably temperatures below normal. I think for much of England and Wales, temperatures around about normal for the time of year by this stage. Now, here's how we look in terms of temperature anomalies for the coming week. Let me just get the right chart here for you, and yeah, this is what I want to show you. It's for the period. It's the second week. It's not for this week, it's for the second week. It's running from the 20th of February through to the 28th, and this is what I wanted to show you. Look, temperatures starting to recover. They're around or just above normal for the time of year. This cold air has been squeezed away to the south by then, and it looks to me as if that's a reasonable pattern. That's a reasonable thing to expect through this period. The NAO is going to be staying around about neutral, bouncing into positive territory at times, so hinting that this westerly wind is starting to strengthen back again across the Atlantic. The Arctic Oscillation as well bounces around the neutral territory line, and that indicates that the cold air is starting to be pushed back northwards towards the North Pole. So I do think that generally we are going to be seeing conditions turning into what you might call a more normal state for this time of year. Also, just wanted to show the comparison between some of the charts. We've seen there the GFS operational. Let's just have a look and see what the ensemble has to show for itself. You can get this chart by going up to weather charts here on the Weather website, and it brings up the ensemble, the GFS ensemble. Scroll through those. The date is here in the top right hand corner, and as we go through them, what I want you to notice is that it's very similar to the GFS in that it brings in those northerly winds, north to northwesterly winds this week, which actually aren't that cold. And then by the time we're getting through to this critical period of the 20th and to the 21st, you'll notice that it briefly brings in this colder snap of north to northwest winds, reduces temperatures. Look at the blue through Scotland there, but to the south, yes, temperatures are reduced, but we're staying around or near normal for the time of year. And then by the time we're into the middle of next week, well, that southwesterly flow is coming back in, fronts are pushing their way back eastwards, and it looks as if most of any rainfall is probably going to be across northern and western parts of the country. In fact, you can look at the rain by clicking on the GFS operational model and clicking on the GFS ensemble model and clicking on rain there, and I'll show you what happens here. Again, the date in the top left hand corner. You can see here individual bands of rain moving through, and just notice as I run through the days how little rain there actually is through the British Isles, and how weak the fronts that bring rain actually are as they move through. It's not until we're getting into the 20th into the 21st period that we start to see more substantial rain, more noticeable rain of sort of 1, 2, 3 millimeters coming through the country, and then that does actually get going as the west to southwesterly winds come back in towards the end of the month. And again, notice that the focus for any rain is across more northern and western areas, with pressure staying relatively high down to the south. So overall then, the forecast pretty much as it was, this idea that temperatures will be recovering through this week. We see a dip into the early part of next week, and then I think this gradual rise of temperature continuing as we get into the end of February and the beginning part of March. So I hope that's been useful for you, and I hope that's certainly answered some of the questions you'll have about forecasts over the coming days. As usual, thanks for watching. Do check out the musings that you'll see all around here, particularly from the Weather Web reporters and from Captain Bob. Some really interesting stuff on there just at the moment. And of course, please do leave your comments on the site too. They are watched, they are listened to as well. And the other thing is that if you've got any ideas for charts, any information that you would like to see, then please do get in touch and let me know, and I'll try my very best to get it on there for you. Once again, thanks for watching. Keep the sun shining.